जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणत पाल भगवंता गोद्विज हितकारी जय सुरारी सिंधु सुता प्रिय कंता पालन सुर धरनी अद्भुत करनी मरम न जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करऊ अनुग्रह सोई करऊ अनुग्रह सोई जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अविगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करऊ अघारी चिंता हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मनरंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन बच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी सरन सकल सुर जूथा सरन सकल सुर जूथा सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जा कहूँ कोई न जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवहु सो श्री भगवाना भव बारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा
Can you talk a little bit more about the nirguna and saguna aspects of consciousness? So what I'm just trying to get a sense of is in sleep, then consciousness is latent but then it emerges. Now, in the waking state, when we are aware of the consciousness, but then there's also we also ask ourselves the question as to who is aware of the light,
Yes.
who's the seer of the light. Is it that it's just that the light is self-aware, or is your experience that it's when it's latent, when it's not there, and it emerges, but then in the waking state there's only the one, and we can rest. We need not trouble ourselves with further questions about who's witnessing the light and get into any further inquiry or mental processes.
Yes. If it was only based on concepts and only based on perception, then we would be only concluding that we have waking state, we have dream state, and maybe we have some states which are spiritual. But everybody can confirm that there is a sleep state. With what do we confirm that? Which mode of knowledge, which way of knowing introduces us to the fact not just that there is sleep, you see, that I am asleep. Because if there was sleep, then we could say it's a state of the world, where the world just seems to become dark and vanishes and all. You see, some big light gets turned off. You see? But actually we say, I am asleep, I fell asleep. So it is something that happens, quote unquote, happens to us. So how do we know of sleep state if there is nothing there? Is it just an idea that we fall asleep?
I've reflected on that quite a bit, Father, and I'm still confused. And the confusion is, it could be an inference, which is, I step out of this building and I see water on the road, so I infer that it must have rained.
Yeah.
Similarly, when I wake up, actually when I boot up, so to speak, there is raw awareness with no thought, and then how many ever seconds or milliseconds later, thoughts appear. And then actually today I'm jet lagging a little bit, so I was asleep between 2 to 4, and at 4 my eyes opened, and I didn't know who I was, where I was for a few, and in jet lag it's a little more pronounced actually, the days. And then the thought booted up, it's like, oh, okay, you were sleeping.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, do I know that I was asleep? Or thought is inferring that, oh, you're in bed, you didn't know what was going on, therefore you were asleep.
Let's look at that. That's good. That's good contemplation. So, if it was like that, we would say that I know of my waking state, that everyone is confirming, apparently, that we know of our waking state. And we also know of another state called the dream state. We have some dreams. So, if it was just an inference, then we would say that there's this waking and there's a dream state where I go, or these places appear to me. You see? But we would not be talking anything about a sleep state. You see? Because you would say, in my memory, the repository of images from the dream is stored, the repository of the images from the waking is stored. You see? But in sleep, there is no image to store. The darkness that we seem to remember is just the moment before falling asleep. In sleep, there is not even darkness or light. So we would then say that the human condition is dream and waking. So, because we can't infer a sleep state. So we need to infer that something happened. The sheer nothingness we can't infer. Okay? So suppose that nobody in humanity had gone through the sleep state, then our inference would only have been that I was dreaming. And then there's this waking. But what about the time where there is no dream? What do we know about that time in which there is literally nothing? And therefore we can contemplate whether inference will get us there.
Father, I can just say that I think I'm just reminded of the questions that the pointers you gave us. So when I ask myself, am I aware now? There's a shifting in consciousness versus can I stop being? So there's a shift in terms of, in fact, I can just do it in real time and talk from there. So I say, am I aware now? It's almost like I'm aware of the entire expanse of being. So the position in which, from where I'm conscious, is shifted to a viewing of the entirety of being.
Okay.
So I feel like something is going on, that sort of directly takes me into it feels like there's something else I'm experiencing other than the way I was experiencing earlier. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm aware of the appearance of consciousness, but then I'm inferring, okay, since it's appeared, there must have been something else. I don't know if that's... Yeah. So I'm aware of the delta, but I can only observe this, not that. But then I'm saying, okay, since there's a delta, the delta, that's a break in terms of my experiencing in my being. So this consciousness is an appearance.
Yes. So we can create a framework based on what our insights are showing us and what we make out of them conceptually, and we can make a framework out of that. But really, when we let's look first at this question which we've not seen for many days, which is, am I aware now? Now, not only are we saying, is awareness here, we're also saying, am I aware? So on what basis do we come to that insight? If it was a worldly basis, we should just be saying that I am a body, I have eyes, I have ears, so I'm sensing, I am perceiving. Where is the question of awareness? So in what language do we learn that? Do we find that? And that language is different from the language of thoughts and the language of words. Is it? At best, in a worldly way, we can say it is the language of silence. But the silence is not a mute silence. It is a silent communication which is happening between the Sadguru, presence, the Atma, and yourself. And in his light, in its light, do you recognize this reality of yourself itself being awareness? Is it? So, we can't really speak about this, but we can point to it so that you can come into the discipleship of the true teacher sitting in your heart, who will show you that your true nature is this awareness itself. But just to make a feeble attempt to speak about it for a minute, when I say, are you aware now? Without you concluding, thinking, inferring, perceiving anything else, what is it that you find? just the most innocent looking. Yeah. You are aware? You are aware. So this you which is aware, how is it known? Yes, but how? In the sense that, we could say, for example, that sight is seeing. If it was, you see, so sight sees itself, so it is self-seeing. You see, so this awareness, what can we say? And if it is always aware of itself, you see, then how is this discovery that I am this awareness supposed to be the highest discovery in the human condition? The recognition of the self.
It's not the senses, it's not thought, and it's aware of itself. And that's the limit.
It is aware of itself, but what about you?
So I'm it.
You are it.
Because of
Now, this, your itness, your being this it, your being that, you see, where is it known? Is it known, like you were saying, not sensorily, not perceptually, then? And it must be known somewhere, because it has the ability to be forgotten, or at least clouded. Isn't it? So that is why the play of Maya can work. So the consciousness, which is the manifest aspect of awareness, has the ability to identify, with concepts, with notions, with objects, with identifying, taking itself to be something that it is not. So the returning to that self-realization, self-recognition needs the help of the Atma within. Because most, if you just speak like this in the world, you will say, but I know I am awareness. You see? There's a difference between I know I am awareness and I know I am awareness. You see? And in the world, it makes no difference which way you say it. In fact, if you say it conceptually and with confidence, it may be better for your outer life, but much worse for your inner life. Where is that, where you have to retreat to, you as consciousness, you as that aspect of consciousness, whatever you take yourself to be, where do you have to retreat to, where this is clearly known? So in satsang, we can only bring you to, or point you to that place, can't even bring you, point you to that place where everything is known instantly, and yet you may not have the outer evidence to prove that. You may say, I am empty, but what happened? Nothing happened. Because that is your mind's report. So these questions, what is sleep, what is love, what is truth, what is true justice, what is true music, what is true, anything true, can only be known at a deeper place.
Father, could that not even be said for a simple thing like, what is my phone number? If you ask me that and I say my phone number, and then you ask me, how do I know and where is it?
Yeah.
Even there, I don't know where it is
Can't
located,
really
but it comes out.
You can't really say, no?
Yeah. So would memory also possibly be part of that?
Yes, of course. Because we experience memory even in the dream state. You see? And the dream could have just started. But you can still report on where you came from, where you're walking towards. Nobody in our dream, at least in my dream, it doesn't happen like that. Where somebody says, "So where are you coming from? Where are you going? What is your name?" I don't say, wait, I don't know. My dream just started. You see? So I'm just starting to build up these memories. Doesn't happen like that. We are able to report on our name, where we are coming from. Could have started. So the same is true for this state, which is actually just like the dream state.
So the one difference may be that, like in memory, when memory loss happens, Alzheimer's, and I've had a couple of relatives, but I don't feel that their awareness has diminished at any level.
Because
So
awareness is not attentiveness.
Yeah.
You see, people consider awareness to be attentiveness. It is very different from that. So many times attentiveness also doesn't suffer. But even if it does, and we are not attentive to anything in the world anymore, we may say in the world we are not aware. You see, but awareness is aware even of the lack of attentiveness, of the presence of.
So on that, Father, sometimes I've wondered, are these folks who are in severe Alzheimer's state where they don't remember anything, while it seems like a problem to everybody else, could they be possibly in a blissful state because memory and stories are not harassing them?
It could be.
I don't know.
It could be. But we have to be careful because we don't know. Like many times, it's not the same thing. Alzheimer's and dementia, all these are different conditions. But just to take an example of when we have to be careful, is that when in the world people who we take to be crazy or mad, you see, we say that they have lost their mind. See? But is it really true that they have lost their mind? If you look at them, they are fully involved with the mind. They may be even repeating the words of every thought, you see, outwardly. So, and not everyone is like that. Everyone, there may be some who may be completely empty. So we can't really say. We just have to be careful of concluding that it has to be like that. Because we don't know the inward condition of someone. Maybe they're just too caught up in their memory, imagination, thought, thinking process. So the only way out is, we can conclusively say, is to become a disciple of the Atma within, is to live in the heart temple, where all this knowledge is freely available, effortlessly, and so much love, so much peace, so much joy. So much faith, compassion, kindness, everything. So our attempt must be that, to use the inquiry, to use the prayer, to return to our true place. Nobody can remain in the true insight without the assistance of the Atma moment to moment, of the Holy Spirit, of the Sadguru presence moment to moment. Why? Because Maya is compelling. How many have we seen over the years in all the sanghas that we've been in, who seem to have such beautiful, true moments of insight? You see? And you may look at them and feel like they can never return to the human condition again. And yet you see them after a few weeks, and Maya has pulled them back. You see? So the only way out of this force field to remain in true insight is to remain inward facing, whichever way keeps us inward facing, whether it is prayer, inquiry, remaining empty, See? In that way, then, returning to the original question, you see, to wake up out of this waking state is to recognize while we are awake what we recognize in our sleep. And that recognition cannot happen through worldly empirical ways. Yeah. See? So it is, the strange thing about this is that it can be very difficult, you see, but the difficulty is to let go of the difficulty. You see? So the prerequisite is to come to a state of just sensitivity, like a softness within, like a openness within, where a clear real transmission is happening. See? The real transmission is happening. You're sitting in front of God's light. Literally, you're sitting in front of God's light, and transmission is happening in that way where knowledge is being transmitted, love, peace, all that is holy is being transmitted. And to sit like that, facing God, God's light, can seem very difficult because Maya will pull you back from, with all its might, even into thinking about spirituality or concluding especially about spirituality, because that can give you signs of making progress. Just sitting quietly, facing God inwardly can seem like, what is this? It can sound like a loser lifestyle. So just first we have to relax, but it's not a not a worldly relax. That's why better to say like a sensitive softness, inward sensitivity, inward softness, which keeps us open to, you see, the, I can't even say transmission, but we have to use some words, so we have to say. God's light is in your heart. It is also emanating a perfume which is calling you home every moment. You see, like a homing signal. It is there. But in the grossness of the world and worldly pleasure and worldly desire and expectation, that seems too subtle. It's a soft instrument. The world's ways are very blunt, very harsh. So you will find yourself becoming softer. Doesn't mean weak, stronger, but is the ability to remain in love deeply with God without having to conclude anything, rushing to conclusions. Have you seen like that what happens with you? Why I'm saying with you is because it happens with me all the time. So we're just sitting. Then the mind offers you some candy. Says, isn't it like this? Isn't the true nature of reality this? Isn't it like that? And that can seem like a worthwhile thing because it seems to be talking about that which we are most interested in. So then we fall for that candy because it seems to be worthwhile. But actually, what we need to do is just remain where we were. Even if the mind is pushing, saying, but nothing is happening, you're wasting time. No progress is being made. So if you're a Mahagyani, and you're spreading the words, the commentary of Shankaracharya ji everywhere, and you've taken it to be your life's mission, but actually you've learnt it, learnt it. You've understood it intellectually. You've imbibed it in your intellect, which also is beautiful, it's good, you see, compared to being only involved in worldly things. It's not bad because it will hopefully seep in somewhere. You see. But if you see one just fakir type, beggar type, someone sitting in Lord's temple just saying Ram, 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 you may say, what a waste of a life. What do you know after 50 years of doing this? I know this, I can tell you Gaudapada's commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad, I can tell you all of this thing. What have you learned just sitting here doing Ram Ram? See? And suppose that the one who is doing Ram Ram took a break for a moment and came to his conceptual mind, he could say the same thing about the other one. He could say, I have spent my life at least with the intention of being with God. What have you done? Just filled your head with ideas. So, really, the point, whether it is inquiry or prayer or whatever spiritual path that appeals to us, is to come within ourselves, inward facing, because when we are inward facing, why antarmukhi sada sukhi? Why inward facing always happy? Why? Because inward facing, you're not facing a limbo or a nothingness. See? You're facing God's light. See? And whether we like it or not, this choice we will always have to make, to let go of the world's apparent light, to go to that which seems invisible at the moment, because it's non-perceptual, it's unperceivable, but to remain in that unperceivable, uncreated light of God's presence is a constant choice that everyone will always have to make, no matter how big a sage they are or consider themselves to be. And anyone who says otherwise, that they are fully transcended Maya, is fooling themselves. And that is the doorway to pride. Is it too cold? Where did Nisargadatta Maharaj go? So that such an illiterate man who said he never read any books, then gave us so much insight in as direct words as possible. Where did he go? And of course, he went to his Guruji Siddharameshwar Maharaj, but also where did he truly have to go? Because there's a difference in speaking conceptually and speaking authoritatively. Okay? It's okay. So, for our words, for our testimony to have the fragrance of truth, it has to be from the heart, from this holy presence, and as empty of any contamination, as transparent an instrument as possible. And that is the lifetime project. how to drop this pretense of Ananta and speak just as an instrument. A screwdriver doesn't think that, oh, the screwdriver, I'm doing such a good job or such a bad job. We get caught either way, isn't it? Yeah? So, if the screwdriver had the ability to pick up a pretense of being something, someone, then its lifetime project would be to remember that it is just a mere instrument being used by God. Is it? What would you say to this if you were just tightening something in your house and the screwdriver suddenly started speaking and started taking credit for the work? What would you say to it? So can you imagine God? This food box, food compartment takes so much credit for creating all of this, creating so much, all of this stuff, where it doesn't know how to move a single atom. It doesn't know anything. Who he is, who she is, where it came from, where it is going, what are thoughts, what are consciousness, what is anything worthwhile, love. It doesn't know anything, but it's quick to jump and take credit, just like that screwdriver saying that it invented this entire technology. You see? And actually, I'm trying to exaggerate to make the point, but as I'm saying it, it's not seeming like an exaggeration at all. Our prideful state is as silly or worse. Even if you say, I am the body, we have no idea about the body. How it gets created, and more importantly, what gives it life. We only think we know. This question of life, humans have been grappling with for thousands of years. But unless we turn to God, unless we turn to the Atma within, there is no real answer. Everything is just speculation. See? And the problem with speculative way of life, just a conceptual way of life, is that when we need it the most, this speculation, these concepts that we built on speculation just dissolve. When life is squeezing us by our throats, all this doesn't help us. Okay? So the true stability can only come when we learn to sit, to live, sleep, everything in God's temple, remain over there, and just be a, like when we were children, no, we would have these, okay, now I'm exposing my age, but where we would live, we would have these people who would come with those bioscope. No, bioscope. How many of you know? Some of you have no idea. So, where this one would come, usually a man would come, and he would carry this device with him, roll it around. And as kids, so it was probably this high, no? So as kids, you could look into that, and then they would play like a private version of the movie. And that was our entertainment in those days, because television used to have one channel with Krishi Darshan playing. So that used to be our entertainment. So we used to have like that. So this world appearance, just like that, we're peering into this movie and taking it to be the story of our life. Now, which world is bigger? The child peering into the device, whatever it is, or them peering into it because attention is fully in that, it can seem like that is big for that moment. And especially if you forget about the outer world, it can seem like that is all there is. So that which is your inner world is actually, it's not a spatial comparison, but it is some sort of comparison, which is that your inner world is much bigger than this outer world. That's why all sages have called this like a firefly, a mosquito just comes and goes, you see, and the true dwelling place as the true universe within, the true realm, the true abode within. So then what are the pathways to live like that? That is the question. The pathway to God means, what is the pathway to living where God is central, where His light is central to us? So all true satsang in the world must be pointing to a pathway to this inner light of Atma within. So here in satsang we talk about inquiry, we talk about prayer, we talk about remaining empty. We sometimes have devotional singing. These days we've started reading the Ramcharitmanas and the Psalms. So all of these, why? Because they aid us in returning to our true home. So we must never get stuck in a spirituality which makes us something in the outer, or just something that we are learning conceptually. So if the job of inquiry, of prayer, of all spiritual practice is for us to turn inwards, and if you found that this is your path, this is the main point I've been wanting to make since Satsang started, that if you have found your true path is inquiry or prayer, then all other worldly concerns should not concern you anymore. Even your questions in satsang should be, oh, I get stuck here in my inquiry, or I get stuck here in my prayer. So, what can I do? How can you help? Then our life becomes fully attuned to our journey inwards. But if you were spending a lot of time thinking about just worldly stuff, conceptual ideas, then it will not translate, usually it does not translate. God's grace can make anything happen, but usually it has to be said that then the fulfillment of our life, which is the discovery of God's light and living in God's light to recognize who we really are, and then to remain like that, to abide in that, does not happen. So the simple point is, what are we concerning ourselves with in our lives? Because this path of spirituality that is offered in satsang is not the spirituality which is a hobby or an interest, a part-time project. This has to be done with full surrender, full immersion. But if you keep going back to, but what about me, what's in it for me, what's happening to me, when will it stop happening to me, or when will it happen for me, then it will seem more and more difficult. So we must leave all of this and just, like innocent children who have been told God lives in your heart, you see, how would you be? Huh? If you're just an innocent child who didn't know all this worldly rubbish, and God was truly what you wanted, and you were told the way to find Him is just to be inward facing. Stay with God, have the intention to be with God, that's all. Then how would that child be? Our life as spiritual seekers has to be like that. There's no problem. Whichever method you like is fine. The intention to find Him takes care of the method. There are a million methods. All of them get their power from where? From God. From God Himself. So that answers this question also. Father, is there a difference between chanting Rama or Ram? Okay. Whatever resonates more in your heart. Because if God's grace is on you, then even to do it like the famous story of the sage, even to have it all upside down and say, Mara, 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 Omara, Mara, Mara, will get you there. And if you're doing it obsessed with the me, then you could be the most perfect Shuddh Ucharan, Shuddh pronunciation of the words. Not going to help. So intention over method. Huh?
Father, if I'm thinking a lot, like if I'm indulging my mind a lot,
If you are
indulging my mind,
indulging,
all its stories while I'm praying, so it means what you're saying, that I am making it about me. So I just want to hear it again.
because who's the hero of the mind?
It's me.
Is the mind weaving narratives about somebody else? Even if they are about God, mostly it makes the centrality the me. My finding God, me, God. You see, where me big and God.
So I can't say that I'm getting distracted or I'm getting, the mind
Only-
overpowers me. These
Only
are,
as a further distraction.
yeah.
In the sense that you notice you're getting distracted. So to dwell on that is to
Further
agree to that condition, to that distraction. Better to just return. Notice the distraction. All of us get distracted. But just to return. And the mind will say, oh, see, you're getting so distracted. You're not doing. So that's further distraction. You see? So that is why the simple saying of Hanuman Podaji,
Get well.
Gir gaye ho to uth jao. If you've fallen down, then get up.
What I mean is,
Such a deep pointing in such simple words. How do you know?
What I meant was that I can't say that, oh, I just get distracted. Like, I
Yeah.
am interested in me. Like, my interest is still, well, no matter what excuse I make.
Yes, this we must be
Yeah.
careful of that, of too much this. I get distracted, I get angry, I get jealous, I get this, I get that, I get that. You see, that is the human condition. As if as if it's just a happening, like you're standing in the middle of the road and a car comes and hits you or a truck comes. You see? So we're not a silent like victim. None of this happens without our permission. You see? But most of us have lost touch with our inner being so much that it can seem like all this just happens to me. See? Because from where we can decide to indulge or not, that seems too far fetched a place, isn't it? So it's very important to start to notice these things, to dive deeper into a deeper place where so we can't say, oh, it just happens to me. If you notice, you see, that all of us go through that we decide to indulge, but when you notice, then just return.
But I want to ask one more thing. This thing about preconceived notions, yesterday when I was sharing, I just said it, and then I felt this must be it, that my mind always makes up that when you go there, this will happen. And it does most of it there only, even before the thing happens, And then when that thing really happens, that just feels like 10% of it. And 90% has happened in a notion it's proposed to me way before. And that what is a preconceived notion
Well,
also?
kind of. This is more like a premonition or like a sense of something going to happen. But I'll give you another example. I had a friend, long time back. So this friend was always saying something or the other, constantly saying something or the other. So then what would happen is that, so as time went along, so suppose he said, today I don't feel like the English teacher is going to come. Yeah? But he also said like 10,000 other things. So, but suppose that day the English teacher didn't come. I was like, see, मैंने बोला था, I told you, English teacher won't come. So this trick the mind is constantly playing with us. You see, it's constantly saying stuff, most of it we don't recall. You see? But when things happen, then you say, see, I told you. So that means give allegiance to me, give power to me, that I am something which is valuable. Yeah? So don't worry about these things, and if it happens, then it happens. It doesn't mean anything. Even if you're saying only one thing, the mind is saying only one thing and it is happening. So it tries to use it to make specialness out of that which is not special, which is the me. Just for everything, give thanks to God and move on. Okay, let's go to Liam.
Namaste, Father.
Namaste, namaste, my dear.
Thank you. I had a question about the methods to come back to God.
Yeah.
Because I heard you say that this staying with God is a full-time job, no? So I've been like trying to honor that and experimenting with this these weeks. So the question is between inquiry and prayer. And I sometimes find here that inquiry becomes a bit mental or redundant, and this question appear like if better than inquire about an I, wouldn't it be best to just come back to God like through prayer? Um, like evoke God instead of inquire about an I don't know if I'm clear.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. So let's look at this. Let's spend a few minutes on this because this is a very important question. Actually, the design of an inquiry, or we can say the inquiry, because we say, who am I, is the inquiry. But actually, there are many inquiries. All contemplative questions in satsang are inquiries. There are, what is the nature of reality? What is awareness? Am I aware? Can I stop being? Who is perceiving this world? All of these are inquiries. Now, the design, what makes them inquiries rather than just mental questions? Because none of these questions can be answered truly from the mind. To come to a resolution of these questions, they are like Zen questions. You cannot answer them with your intellect. Just like a Zen koan, you need to go beyond your intellect to a deeper place to come to insight about what the question is asking. So, in that way, inquiry is designed to be completely the opposite of a mental process. In that way, it is how it's designed, because how far will we go for how long with a question like, am I aware now? Or who am I? Thinking about it in the mind, because everything that we had to think about who we are, we've thought about mostly. You see? We've done the thinking about that. So, who am I? And then Bhagavan has also told us that when a thought comes as an answer to that, we must ask ourselves who witnesses that thought.
Mm.
You see? And when the answer comes, it is I, then we go back to who is this I? You see? So it's not very easy to become fully mental about the inquiry, but as we have been doing it for a long time, the mind finds some ways to pull us back into its narrative, and in that way, it can seem to become mental. Okay? So that is true. Now, many will say that as I pray, I find myself to be more mental because I'm taking myself to be somebody and bound down to somebody. You see, it seems like there's duality. It seems like that is too mental. Many have this complaint, but actually, it is not true. It is to use that propensity that we have to take ourselves to be somebody and to surrender that to that which we truly are, or that who is the highest. See? That is prayer. So it is a letting go rather than a mental process. So
Yes.
both of these are designed to take us deeper from our mind into the holy place of where the Sadguru presence resides in our heart, the temple, the heart temple as I've been calling it. Because there, true insight, true knowledge, true love, the truth of anything becomes apparent, especially who we are. So that's why you don't need to be very conclusive about what you should do or what you should not do. Both these arrows are available in your quiver. You see? Both these tools are available. You see? So in your Swiss knife, there are two different type of knives available. One
Yes.
seems appropriate at some time, and the other seems appropriate at some other time. You see?
Mm.
And as long as you're not making it a mind tactic, not letting you settle on either, you see, where the mind is saying, no, no, today I don't feel like inquiring, I'll pray. Today I don't feel like praying, I'll inquire. It's not just so mental, but it's heartfelt. You see? So, like I
Yes.
said to all of you, that we must not start engaging with others in the day unless we come to God's presence. Whether that takes a few minutes or a whole day goes like that, we must not spread this egotism in the world by ourselves not being in God's presence. So we must take that few minutes for most of us to just come to His presence, or the deeply seated sense of your only intention being to be with Him. We must not, like, you know what I mean by being
Yes.
centered in that way. We must not start being helter skelter in the world. So, so some days when you ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Like you were saying, it becomes mental. The mind starts attacking you even more. Then
Mm.
you use your prayer, pray. You see? If the prayer is not working, then put on some bhajan, some holy music. If that is not
Yes.
working, you see, do some uh, yoga, do some prostrations, do whatever that you, after living in this life for this long, we start to get a sense of how it functions. You see? Now, what happens is that when we want to turn towards God, the resistance comes from the mind and it wants to say, no, 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 not today. I'll start tomorrow. Today I'm not that interested, or I'm too tired, or something like that.
Mm.
You see? So, when these messages come from the mind, we must just let go of them and take one tiny step towards God.
Yes.
It's like when I was younger and somebody told me to start exercising, they said that there will be many days where you don't want to exercise or do yoga. So they said all you have to do is get on your mat. The rest will take care of itself. You see?
Yes.
So the same thing also works here. That if you just turn towards God, take one tiny step, then that takes on a momentum of itself. So to break the momentum of Maya, to break the momentum
Yes.
of Maya, and
I see.
these are
Yes.
just these small tips which you can use, because you'll notice that your mind is playing that way. You wanted to spend the whole day in prayer, yeah, but the mind says, let's put on the football, you see, and let's do this, let's do that, you see, like that. And not that any of this is inherently opposed to God or anything like that. It's just a question of, is your focus on God? And if your focus is on God, then all this worldly activity can go on. But sometimes the mind uses the world appearance and its candies, you see, to distract us from actually turning towards God.
Yes.
So,
I see, Father.
so if you were to guess one
Yes.
more thing, there's one more thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yes.
if you were to say that today I did the inquiry and came to such a deep recognition, or you were to say that today I did the prayer and I came to God's presence, or if you were to say today I visited this holy temple and I felt so much that God is with me, or you say I just sang some bhajans or listened to some bhajans, or I did some pranayam, I did some yoga, I did whatever, that made no difference to me. You see,
Yes.
the point is God at the center. You see, the point is the
Yes.
truth at the center. So I'm not at all interested in saying that this is the higher path, this is the lower path. In fact, I don't know, something here is always attracted to the lower. Yeah? So if something is the highest path, I would say, no, no, what is the lowest path? I'll
Mm.
follow. You see? Oh, to God, not in, not in worldly ways. It's going to the lowest path of the mind. You see? But I have no interest in getting somewhere fastest, being the first or the highest. I'm not interested in any of those things. So if a simple smiling at a stranger that you meet on the street brings you to God's presence, and that is the highest path.
Yes.
And your heart will always keep guiding you moment to moment as to what is the right way for you. You see? And maybe it is sometimes just reading a spiritual book. You read a book sometimes and you feel like you're sitting in front of the sage in satsang with them. You see? So that is also a very high path. Unless we're making this conceptual understanding and proud about what we are learning. You see? So everything is possible to do in godly ways and everything is possible to do in worldly ways. And everything we do in godly ways, because it is God, it is the highest. That old cliched thing about if you multiply anything with infinity, it is infinity. So if it's about God, whatever it is the highest. So don't spend your time thinking about all this. Not that you are, I'm just saying generally, even last time we had some questions about this. So it's not worthy use of time to keep thinking about what is my path. Because there are so many that I meet, even after 20 years of spirituality, they keep saying, so I don't know, what is my path? Is this better for me or is that better for me? Is this higher, is this lower? So we are not following the beats of our heart then. We're just getting caught in some worldly categorization and comparison.
Yes. Thank you, Father. Yes, I see. I've been trying more like to keep this focus or intention really in God through from morning to the day and use this. Yes, I mean I use both like inquiry and prayer. It's kind prayer has become like something newly discovered here through your satsang. So I feel I'm here. I'm like taking a lot of shoes of that. Um, I had a question about prayer also because you said something earlier like we were speaking about being open and empty, and you said if you are truly open and empty, then it it shouldn't be difficult to pray all the time, you know. And I tried that, and it exposed something like, wow, there is still a lot of thoughts, because sometimes the same as inquiry, you feel like you are open and empty, but there is some mental activity that still, you know, and prayer like expose that. But and the question is like, um, one should be like praying all the time, like verbally. I mean, with the inner voice, like in, inside, like saying, for instance, ram, ram, ram. Because I've been trying, and I I don't feel capable of doing that like all the time. Some I that's the question. Yes.
It can take years. It can take years to settle into that becoming natural for us. And I don't know if we should ever even say that settled in, because the minute we start to feel like we're settled into something, then Maya pulls the biggest tricks. Is it? So, so our job is just to have this, carry this intention, and to just every day, as much as we can, just be in the prayer. Is it? You made a very good point, and I've made this point often, but I'm glad all of you are starting to see it. That somewhere the mind can love either position. You see, it can love either position of open and empty or constant praying, and that is why either is a good wake-up call for the other. You see, for example, it may seem very like many of us may have concluded that we can remain just empty, open all the time. But for those then to constantly pray should be very easy because there is no resistance in the process. It should just be very natural. So we should just be able to stay with our prayer constantly. But those who felt that they are fully open and empty, when they started praying, many times they recognize that they're not praying, they're engaging in some thought activity. You see? So it revealed that what they were taking to be just a sheer open and empty actually was a mind trick which was tricking them, saying that it is constantly open and empty. But actually, it can apply the other way also. If you feel like I can just pray all the time, you see, I can just pray all the time, then if it is just so deeply settled that you're with God all the time, then to remain open and empty all the time would also not be difficult for you. But if you try to do that, you notice that so many obstacles come in the way. So let's use all of these as wake-up calls to shake us out of any sort of subtle pride, any sort of subtle position making, you see, and bring us back to the beginner approach of starting fresh every day. You see? So if I wake up in the morning, can I conclude that today the whole day will be open and empty or spent fully in God's temple in my heart praying to Him? I cannot make that conclusion. I can say this will be my intention, and whatever power I seem to have with me, I will put in that direction. But can Maya not trick me and make me spend the whole day in worldly things? It can. So, um, so let none of us make this kind of conclusion that, oh, I can just be this way, I can just be in inquiry all the time, or I can be empty naturally all the time, or I can pray naturally all the time. If it is not feeling difficult at some points, then something may be hiding somewhere. Because
Yes.
that means that what you are saying, something which the greatest sages have not said, which is that Maya has no power over me. Even the greatest sages have not said that. They have said that Maya has a lot of power, so I have to keep praying for His grace to bless me. So in our prayer in the beginning, we pray to God in the form of Vishnu, in the form of Hari Narayan, and we say that you are the Maya Rahit one, which means that you are the only one who is actually free from Maya. So God is the only one who is free from Maya. So that pure awareness, that pure beingness within ourselves is of course completely free from Maya, because Maya is a product of that that truth, that reality. But when consciousness is playing in this way, it has designed it for itself to get involved, to get caught up from time to time, and for most of us all the time. So we must never make a conceptual conclusion of being free from any of this, and we must never say that this path is higher for me, this path is lower for me. We may say at this moment, this is helping me stay with God or stay with truth. And then we keep ourselves safe in those ways. Otherwise, pride is going to get us very quickly.
I see. Can I share something more? Thank you. Yeah. Just yeah. I'm experimenting with this, and also sometimes I sit and I don't know if it's an inquiry, but I repeat this that you've been saying, like God is here, because there is like this at least an intuition like God is really here. I know this, and it is feeling like the light of God is here, you know, and there is kind of a feeling or a searching like impulse, like saying like, well, if it's here, why I don't see it fully, you know?
Yeah,
Because I know it's here, but it's not fully known yet.
yeah,
Um, and I don't know. I mean, we use prayer and inquiry, but there is like this urge of deepening, you know. Um, I don't know. If you have something to say about this, yes.
right. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I haven't said this for many days, so thank you for this reminder. I want to repeat it. So, and we can just look deeply at this aspect. So, I've said, we've been saying in Satsang that if Krishna was sitting in front of you, if Jesus was sitting in front of you, if some of the prophets were sitting in front of you, if Ram was sitting in front of you, okay, then what would you be doing? Your entire focus would be on him. You'd want to serve him, you'd want to love him, you see, with all your might, with all your heart, if he was in front of you. You see? Now, faith is that which teaches us to rely on that which is not visible to our senses, but known in our heart, more than that which is visible in front of us. You see? So, if you let go of your mind for a moment, then these words will ring true for you that God is right here, His presence is right here within yourself. He is. His presence is accessible to us. That one who came in the form of Ram, Krishna, Jesus is here with us. So, the visible will try to conclude that there is no such thing. But the intuitive, the heartfelt, is showing you something else. So, true faith, true spirituality is to rely on what your intuitive insight, what your Atma Gyan, inner self-knowledge is showing you, rather than to rely on what the world is pointing to. So sometimes we make a mistake of confusing this intuitive insight with the experiences that may come as byproducts of it. You see? So we may say that, oh, I feel so much, so nice, and so joyful, and so peaceful, and all these will come as byproducts, but we must not attach to that which is visible so much. We must rely only on our intuitive insight, which makes known that which is beyond visibility, see? Beyond what can be touched, felt, smelled, looked at, tasted. So it's very good at times to not really have an experience to talk about, and yet to just be in faith, to be inward facing in your faith. You see?
Yeah.
For me, for all of my children and for myself, that may be higher than to be inward facing when great experiences are happening. You see? When great experiences are happening, it's easier to be inward facing or to turn towards God. You see? But when it seems like it is all made up and there is no faith, the words of the teacher are all just conceptual and the sages are just talking some nonsense, and truly the way to live is how the world is telling us to live, then if we can remind ourselves and turn inward for one moment You see, when there is trouble all around us and we need to fight in the world, you see, then if we can turn inward for one moment to the holy guide within us, the Atma within, the Holy Spirit within, then that is very valuable for me.
Yes.
Because the rest he is taking care of anyway. We can't take credit for, if he is providing us great spiritual experiences inside and we are just all day immersed in the honey and enjoying the honey, you see, then there's nothing to be praised in that. We have to praise God in that, of course, saying, thank you that you're blessing us with this. But if you say that life was tough, this was happening, body was hurt, relationship was falling apart, no money in the bank, all of this was happening, and yet I turned to God and said, it's all your will, I surrender to you, I'm happy with whichever way you keep me. You see? For me, that is much more valuable than you even sitting in samadhi, which is happening. You see, just like a samadhi is unfolding, because in that you made the effort to turn, where everything in the human condition was topsy turvy.
Mm. Yes. So beautiful. Thank you, Father. Thank you so
Keep at
much.
it. Just keep at it. You're going well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Sajan.
Hi,
Namaste.
Ananta-ji.
Hello, my
Hi.
dear.
Hi.
Are we having a reunion or what? I saw that at the beginning Shivani was also here. Sajan is here after many years also. Very good. Very happy to see.
Mhm. Thank you. I feel to make this connection with you more alive and more also in this way of speaking, because it has been very alive inside my heart, although I haven't spoken to you like this in a Zoom. Sometimes I was watching without the video and sometimes listening to the recordings. Yes, also from Sahaja, there was a little bit of not feeling
I'm aware
so
of it.
much that
I'm
is
aware.
appropriate. So yeah, but you've been such an anchor for me in humility and I've been on the pulse of your satsang over the years
Very good.
very much.
Very good.
Yeah, and in this inward facing towards God alone and doing God's will is so much resonating. And that's what I'm, let's say, certain about, that God alone, and know as much as it's in this capacity and openness here, to be without the me narrative, to be without arrogance, specialness, all this pretense, and to that I'm fully surrendering to God for this.
Very,
And
very good. Very, very good. I bless you with all my heart, and may you keep deepening in this surrender to God. Very happy to hear you, and
mm,
good that you'll be able to participate like this more often. Very happy.
yes,
In
and
a
I have
way,
to
yeah,
sorry.
in a way, you've also always been here through Adrian.
Yes,
So happy that both of you can join now. It's very good.
yeah,
I still
and
remember
maybe
the carving you gave me, no, with that, with the watch face on it.
yeah. I will have to say and to apologize in advance for any arrogance that will come up in our interactions, because at the moment I feel God took its gloves off with Sajan. So I'm also in that. Like I really don't need to protect any way of appearing. So if through my sharing something will come up that you feel it's also not appropriate towards Guruji's image or something, like please like take it out of the recording after or something. I leave that to your yeah yeah yeah.
Very good. Very good. We just
Thank you.
must always be able to share openly, freely. Anything that we want to say, we must always be able to share. And of course, some things may not be suitable for YouTube and things like that, but that we can take care of in editing and things like that. But satsang is like a safe space where we, we must always be open to sharing. Now, this I would prefer if you notice that if there's something wrong in what I'm saying and something that's happening in the Sangha here, you see, then we can actually look at it and take some corrective action. But and we can share, of course, you're open to sharing, but many times it happens is that we want to talk about that which none of us have any sort of control over or can do really anything about. So then that just becomes some sort of like a, not that you will ever want to do that, but that just becomes like sharing something when the other is not there to defend themselves. So that that we can see if it comes to that point, then we can point that out. That does it become sort of a like a courtroom without both sides present?
Yes, yes.
That may not be the best way to approach things, but in terms of how something affects you and how you want to deepen in your spiritual growth and in the way of the heart, if something gets in the way and you want to get it off your chest, you're very welcome to share. Satsang is a safe space for all of us
Yes.
to be able to share. You see, and hopefully all of us have the maturity to hear with openness and not to judge, and to also look at that as someone's experience. It doesn't have to extrapolate into their own feeling about things or their own conclusions about things. So in that way we can create a safe environment for all of our brothers and sisters to share openly. And it's very important for all of you to be able to tell me if you feel like something is going wrong with me, because I feel that if I come to a point ever where I say that we must not poke holes at Ananta because he is a guru or a teacher or something like that, then I would have got caught up in some pride at that point. So please play me a recording of this at least, if nothing else. So then we always strive to maintain this sort of just openness and humility in satsang. And may I always have the spirit that whatever you can say about me, actually I know I'm much worse. So nothing, you see, although of course it does hurt, some sensitivities there when a brother or sister or a child tells you something. For a moment some hurt can come, but it is up to me to process that, to deal with that, you see. But we must never feel like I cannot say this or I cannot say that. So feel free to share about this one, this man, and also about the Sangha, and we may be doing hundreds of things which are wrong, you know. So, and if we just close ourselves from feedback, then we'll never grow. And really the important thing is, how are we appearing into the audience of one, the true audience who is aware of every breath that we take. It is important to come clean in his eyes. What the world thinks of us and what the world concludes about us really is secondary. It's not, I'm not saying it's unimportant and we can just do whatever we want, but I'm saying that most important is when we turn inwards, what is he saying to us in the form of intuition, in the form of conscience. All these things are given by God and they keep pointing us in the right direction. So together, hopefully we walk this journey and we deepen in our love for God and deepen in our insights of the truth. And for that, we need to be in a safe environment where everything can be shared. So just unburden yourself with all of this, and God's grace will take care. I'm praying for you deeply and full blessings.
Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you so much.
Bless you. Okay, before we go to the Ramayana, let's quickly go to Peter and maybe one more. Let's see.
Hello, Father.
Hello, my dear.
There's a question about prayer. I'm experimenting with the Jesus prayer, and as far as I see, there are two aspects to it. The one is with the repetition of the prayer that it's like a bit like a mantra. It keeps the mind from wandering, and the other is because it's about Jesus and about God. It's about holding God's hand and being really feeling God in the heart. But when I often in everyday activities, when it spontaneously comes to the mind, the prayer, and pretty soon when I repeat it, when I pray it just has this mantra aspect. That means it becomes it keeps somehow the mind from wandering, but the strong feeling of God in the heart it loses a little bit of this. It's just like a mantra, you can say. Yes, and this is then the mind or the question comes here. Maybe I'm doing it not right, or I'm not focused enough on God, and so this is yes.
It's all right. It's completely all right. I cannot make a report saying that every time that I'm praying, in fact, I can't say that most of the time that I'm praying, it's fully heartfelt, it's fully meaningful, truly faithful. And yet I feel there is just something, some medicinal quality in just repeating the prayer. And many times here also it's just happening mechanically, mechanically and not heartfelt. But it's fine. I still feel like it's better than nothing, or it's better than spending time on some worldly topic, ruminating that.
Yes. Yes, the moments in every day, let's say the strong moments where I really feel God in the heart is in this sitting periods in the morning. I often sit with Guruji's guidance, um, with the live program from Monte Sahaja, and this is very good to really to open up the heart and to really be in complete silence and feel this presence, the presence of God's light, and this is very beautiful. And even during the daytime, sometimes but it's not so easy. I really try to remind myself of just sit for a moment alone and focus on God. And it's, as you said before, it's like yoga. If you just have to go to be ready to go on the mat, and then somehow it works by itself. But it's the critical moment is just to come back to this intention and to create this quiet moment or this silent moment.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's very, very good. So, to use a metaphor, sometimes we make big deposits in the bank. Sometimes we make some tiny pennies we deposit. So if we are trying to build a heart temple, sometimes we are laying strong bricks, you see, and sometimes we're just doing some little work, whatever little we can. So sometimes big gold coins, sometimes little tiny pennies. You see? So, but whatever we can to build our spiritual depth, to build our spiritual quality, nothing is wasted. And those moments where His presence is felt so deeply, none of us can ever say we know what we did to make that happen. You see? So we don't know what, on the basis of what He is gracing us, He is being present to us. So anything done for God doesn't go to waste.
Yes. And finally, I really want to thank you so much. The last month, it was somehow feeling this earnestness and this it's so inevitable to just to follow God, and it's not easy at all. And at the same time, your satsangs they resonate so deeply, and it's such a big help. And yes, it really is. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Father.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Be very good. Very, very good. Yes. Okay, what time are we on? Just 7:10. Can we go to, let's hear from Kunal first. I haven't heard from Kunal in a bit.
Hello, Father. Can you hear me?
Oh, my dear. Good, good. Yes, I can.
I just wanted to say hi because it's been a while, and I wanted to let you know I made a road trip recently down south to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where my grandparents live, and there's a Hare Krishna farm kind of near there. So I stopped by there, and it was really beautiful. And I don't know, I just kind of thought of you when I was there. It was almost like it was a little bit of a God's treat or God's gift to get me back in tune with things.
Very nice.
Because being on that farm, seeing the devotion and dedication, it kind of spanked me a bit back on back on track, I guess.
Very.
And then when I was driving back, I feel like God also kind of helped me out because usually I was blasting hip hop music and like heavy metal, like all the way there. But for some reason, I started playing your Satsang instead.
I see.
So while I was on the highway, so it probably prevented a few car crashes too in that way. So, but yeah, that I just wanted to share that. I don't know.
Very good, very good. I'm very happy to hear from you. and that you're back on track is very good news. It's very good news because Maya will come. Maya comes in so many ways, and it seems so compelling, easy, and it has all the right rationalizations, all the right things to say, and it seems like either God is just made up or that we are not cut out for this path. Either way, we want to just change our way of life. The mind wants us to change our way of life from godly to worldly. You see? So when a child comes back, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy because you see, you put yourself back on track to the true place, to what I have no doubt in my heart about being the true purpose of human existence, which is to find God and to live in His light. So to come back on track for this is, I'm very happy, very, very happy.
Yeah, Father, I hope I can stay on track, though. I never know how long I stay on track, then get off again. So I'm not making any
Yeah.
promises here, because I can't lie. But for now, I seem to be on track. I don't know, though. Yeah.
Actually, I cannot also say, I cannot say also like tomorrow I may wake up and say, no, no, I'm done with this satsang life. You see, it's a thankless job. Uh, there's nothing in it for me, so I quit. So it may happen like that, who can say? But we just feel happy that in this moment, He has blessed us that we are on the right track. He has blessed us on the right track. Very good. It avoids any complacency. It avoids any complacency also when we realize that it's a day-to-day gift. You see? Because otherwise what happens is, we notice, isn't it, that it can seem like a life choice. Should I do this? Or should I do that? What's really here for me in spirituality? You see? Why should I make this choice? It seems to be not leading me anywhere. Where is the joy I was promised? Where is the love I was promised? You see? It can be like that. But in those moments, we don't question, so what is our plan B? What are we saying? That we just live this life of worldly pleasure and pain and then die, finished? You see? So, as we keep reminding ourselves of the fact, we may keep saying that, am I cut out for God? Or is this real? When we realize that our plan B is rubbish, you see, then it's easier to come back on track. You see? Because what is our plan B anyway? Very good. Very good. It's almost time we have to start reading the Ramcharitamanas.
Psalm 6. It's a prayer of faith in time of distress. To the chief musician with stringed instruments on an 8-stringed harp, a psalm of David. O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor chasten me in your hot displeasure. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are troubled. My soul also is greatly troubled. But you, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver me. O save me for your mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In the grave, who will give you thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All night I make my bed swim. I drench my couch with tears. My eye wastes away because of grief. It grows old because of all my enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity, for the Lord has heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and greatly troubled. Let them turn back and be ashamed suddenly. The word of God.
So good, and especially in the context of mind attacks, it's really good. And have you seen how in all the Psalms they're showing that what the sages have told us, if you've fallen down, then just get up. Because all the Psalms end like this. It starts with so much lamentation usually, so much so many things which are even difficult to hear, but they always end on a note of hope, on the note of turning towards Him, on Him being loving and taking care of us.
Yeah.
So in a way, every psalm is like the story of our spiritual life, where we can face so much despair at times, but then God's grace helps us and blesses us. We just have to keep turning towards Him.
Yeah. Yeah. And the real enemy is not outside of me.
Yes. Yeah.
I am the enemy.
The me, the ego and the mind keep pulling us back into the narrative of the me. But when we turn to Him empty, with no tools, naked, innocent, simple, then we learn to live our life in this way.
Yeah.
What enemies is, yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. Should I read 7?
I wanted to play something.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Kyrie eleison is Kyrie is Lord, and eleison is have mercy. So it is Lord have mercy. In which language? Aramaic. Aramaic or Greek? Greek. Then this is very nice. Same message everywhere. No? It's so silly that we divide ourselves in silly ways. It says, the love of God has been poured into our hearts, hallelujah, by the Spirit, by His Spirit who dwells in us. So same, the Atma that we were talking about. It's so funny that because we have different names, Atma, Spirit, Vaheguru, Sadguru, Presence, on the basis of these different names we divide ourselves. Really funny. But the message is the same everywhere. One tip for all of you is that when you find yourself caught up in something, just ask yourself, I can be with God right now. Why am I thinking about this? As simple as that. I can turn to Him. I have been given all the tools. His grace has blessed me so much. Just keep turning to Him, even especially when times seem tough.